Welcome back to RaceSpotTV and to the FIA Formula 4 Esports Regional Tour. The European South region has made its way to sunny Spain, and today from the Circuito de Jerez, it's time to find out exactly who in this region can stack up on top in one of plenty of races in this week. It's Arjuna Kenkipati alongside once again with Lorenzo Bonda as you get set to walk you through all of the action. And Lorenzo, this is a track where it's going to be quite interesting to see how these Formula 4 machines go racing, given that it is somewhat difficult to make passes actually happen.
Yeah, which is going to be quite interesting for me, Arjuna. It's not the widest of tracks, but it's a track that kind of generates some draft, especially after the first sector. But the cars can keep it in a very close fashion right here. It's just the second and third sector that might break away them a little bit because of the fast sequence of turns they're going to be doing. So that's where it can get chaotic, but that's where the opening for overtakes can actually be done, to be very honest.
And you did note as well, as we watch some of the drivers work their way around in qualifying, today we are running the well, how do you want to call it? Chicane layout, the car layout, but we will come back here in a couple of weeks' time to close out the season and without that chicane. And of course, these regions not really trying to split up the world in terms of the competition, in terms of the drivers. Instead, everyone can enter every single region. All it really means, Lorenzo, is a bit more of a focus on the regional tracks for these drivers to get to experience. And boy, what a schedule this European South region has got to see so far in 2023 Season 4.
Yeah, it's been a very good schedule so far. Been looking over here, a very big mix of tracks. They're both challenging, but they also provide some real close racing. But after that, it's basically tracks that it's going to be packed from start to finish, like Hockenheim and Jerez. Going back to the longer version of Jerez, with the moto version of Jerez, should provide some really enticing racing to the final 3 rounds of the season.
And of course, this is the inaugural FIA Formula 4 Esports Regional Tour. As mentioned, split up into regions, 4 of them, the European North and South, of course, and then Americas and Asia Pacific. There are 8 different time slots per week in each of those regions. They're split across both Wednesday and Thursday to provide fixed opportunities for drivers to go racing against one another, and they're open to anyone with a non-rookie license. It always boggles my mind that, Lorenzo, if you were really crazy, if you really enjoyed this iRacing FIA Formula 4 machine, you could do 32 races a week over a course of a season. That's 384 races.
That's more races than I have in this entire 2023 calendar. I applaud the individual that actually does that.
Is there someone that's doing that?
If there's someone, he needs a medal for iRacing.
I think I agree with you there. At least a certificate to acknowledge what a remarkable accomplishment it is. I say accomplishment. I guess I'm a little bit just jealous that I don't have that much time to be able to go out there and drive by myself. But Lorenzo, qualifying is going to be important, and look at those margins up towards the front. You've got 5 cars split by just over a tenth and a half.
Yeah, which impresses me a little bit, how the proximity between this top 5 and how they kept it nearly 2/10 split from one another. But more importantly is the breakaway they have on 6th, 7th, and on back. You know, like 4/10 of a second, Arjuna. It's quite a lot. It's kind of like you're splitting the field 3-way of sorts, because P6 and 7, they're close, and then you have another big gap to 10th place nearly. So it's going to be a compelling race from what it looks like.
And as the clock winds down in this qualifying session, the opportunities for drivers to improve are also whittling away. There's a few drivers still with no times on the board. 18 drivers are on that left-hand side of the screen in a field of 23 machines that will see the checkered flag fly and now get themselves ready to run their way down to the grid. 20 minutes of racing, about 12 laps of action for the drivers to work their way on through. Let's run you down how they qualified and how they'll run their way up into turn number 1. It will be Andrea D'Amico in the number 11 that will bring us to the green, just missing out on breaking into the 142s. He'll be alongside Mikel Sajak for the number 8 car with Joey Zarkos and then Peter de Hoos on the second row of the grid. It'll be Ballas Laza and then Joa Santo on the 5th and 6th positions of the starting grid, while rolling from 7th, Max and Muir, with Simone Gabriele alongside Tony Garifa, and then Ricardo Machado make up the rest of the top 10, with Theo Martin and Joseph in the number 1 on the outside of row number 6. You've got Gabriele Van Giotto, Robin Zahn, Dominic Ochiuso, Guy Robertson, and then Johan Sorensen and Jason Onig going on the 9th row of the grid. Matt Mears, Andres Fernandez, Danny Garcia, Sankara, Macandel, and then Juan Domingo round out the 23 machines that get ready to do battle. What are your expectations, Lorenzo, as the field gets ready, watching up towards the lights?
It should be very interesting. I think how they're gonna be breaking away, maybe top 5 after 2 laps, but because of this track, you have so much elevation change. Some people is gonna be, well, in my opinion, big, like off guard in the first 2 laps.
Sometimes what we see as well is as the driver tries to get the tires up to temperature, that's where the opportunities to make moves happen. But it's a relatively cool day, all things considered. Pretty optimal conditions to go racing.
Yeah, right, quite chill track from what it looks like.
Yeah, 31 degrees Celsius for these Pirelli tires, a decent amount of grip for them. It's a rather long hold that they're being subjected to here as they just wait for the final drivers to get their way onto the grid, but we've got about 5 seconds before we go. The engines will build, the music will roll off, and it's now all towards those 20 minutes of racing that lie ahead. There's just 4 more weeks in this FIA Formula 4 Esports Regional Tour. And today here from Circuit Jerez, the European South region is a go once more. The driver from the outside of the front row instantly cuts back into line, but up towards turn 1 and opens the door for a big send around the outside. Peter de Hoos has gone up to 2nd spot and now challenges for the lead as they rumble their way onto the brakes once more. It's 2 by 2 further back, but it's single file for your leader as Zarkos tries to work his way back up towards 2nd, but now as the drivers flick their way towards the left, single file inside of the top 5.
Yeah, and now they're going to be preparing for the back straight, where it's going to be the main opportunity for you to do some overtakes, Arjuna, and set yourself up. Down the hill they will go, and then into that long hairpin, as some drivers nearly getting caught off guard by the exit of the rumble strips.
Who's going to be bravest on towards the brakes? D'Amico still leads them at De Hoos in 2nd, and then as drivers run their way wide, it's going to allow the opportunity for some to filter up the inside as almost 3 wide off the hairpin they will run. Goodness, they've all for the most part been able to get through this safely. There's only one driver that's already back down on towards the pit lane, and that is Sankara Macandal. Everyone else is still going. There's a big snap there and some contact as well. Still 3, almost 4 wide, and there's going to be some drama. Around goes 1 or 2, but everyone else gets on through.
Yeah, I really want to look on the replay that potential 4 wide that was going to happen, Arjuna, because it's not common as they're going to be coming into this odd part of the track, this GP portion where you be basically cutting the first part of the triple or right-hander or double right-hander where it gets really fast around the track and set yourself up for the final hairpin.
And as they work their way to that final corner, it's already a 1-second advantage at the front as Andrea D'Amico has already almost broken the draft of those behind. Peter de Hoos is now back down to 3rd as Mikel Zajic has jumped back up to 2nd spot where he qualified, of course. Simone Gabriele also jumped up 3 positions on that opening lap. Plenty of drivers taking advantage and working on forward and taking advantage, Lorenzo, of moments like this where they were 4 wide, they were 4 wide for sure.
Yeah, and going 4 wide, I think scientifically in the track that doesn't allow you to go 4 wide, and also 3 wide doesn't work as well. And
you can see the live pictures as well there. Number 1, Joseph's lost the rear wing, and that's going to cause big dramas for him. More contact, and wow, they don't get much bigger than that. Robin Zahn's just being turfed off in through the gravel and sent end over end over end. Joey Zarkos is losing momentum now as well. Oh, the replay is going to show us plenty.
Yeah, the replay is going to be plenty, and I think the biggest thing about this track is after the first lap and the car is still somewhat loose and you're still trying to find the right balance of the car, it's where it gets tricky because it is very sensitive towards steering. Look at a few replays. Here we go, Arjuna. What do we find here?
And so that's the number 1. That's Joseph, who, well, let's be real, there's a bunch of air and netco between the two, and that's then him that goes around initially. And then it was Robin Zahn who also got involved. And so this is, yeah, I said they don't get much bigger than this. It was, well, 3 wide, I think, more than anything. But as the Aston Martin liveried car up the inside, goodness.
I didn't think that was humanly possible, but okay.
God, well, yeah, I'm not surprised the camera went dead for a little bit there. So as we rejoin the live pictures with now 2 laps officially complete, we're on to the 3rd lap of the race. That's a look to the inside as Ballas Laza tries to get past Simona Gabriele. Now these drivers have lost a good 2 and a bit seconds off of the back of the top 3 who are still somewhat within touching distance. The draft not totally broken for your race leader, and so with 4 minutes complete almost, so 10 laps to go in this race, Lorenzo, these drivers can't afford to fight too hard with one another.
No, they can't, but I think at the same time, it goes on the discussion that I meant, that you probably would see top 5 breaking away a little bit, and I think Laza is going to make that move on the inside. It's going to look for the move, but cannot make it stick. But battling over here is just complicated. If you lose one spot, you potentially can lose 2 or 3, depending how the field is close to one another. So it's just those things that F4 normally provides, because it doesn't generate a whole lot of downforce.
And so as Joey Zarkos tried to work his way forward after dropping back on the initial start, just got a bit too greedy with the loud pedal, and around she went, but the pendulum not totally swinging the car around, and Zarkos able to emerge just behind while Santos, I do believe, in the number 15 machine. Back through the chicane they will go, and as the top 3 just continue to run their way back towards the line, notice that they're all just arcing out a little bit more. Peter de Hoyst on power gets very, very sideways there, Lorenzo.
Yeah, and a car on the wall. Back of the frame.
And so that's while Santos. We'll take a look at that in a few moments' time.
Yeah, but I think coming back to the Hoyst, I think being slightly loose on the exit of the corner, it might be because it is, well, I want to say I think it's slightly banked. It is a very shallow bank from what it looks like whenever you do the final corner hit as. So it's whenever you come off on the power again, that depending where the car's positioned, you really want to be as straight as possible. But unfortunately, that wasn't the case for the Hoyst. But kept it on the track. That's what's important.
Still running their way on this back straightaway. You can see the elevation change as well, just play its part. Here's a look at what happened, Lorenzo. Talk us through it.
Just too much, I think, input to try to come back to the track, still stay fast and not lose the position, because he was looking for track position right there, and unfortunately the Brazilian just got caught off guard by the reacceleration on low gears, and well, it's the way to go.
And while Santos now watches on from the pit lane and sees those up towards the front, just continuing to pull away from those behind, D'Amico is very much threatening to drop de Hoyst after that big sideways moment that we saw out of the number 3, but so far Mikel Zajac has done a pretty impressive job in being able to close with your leader. But that's what we were talking about. There's not many passing opportunities here at Jerez, and at least so far the race leader about to complete his 4th lap of an expected 12. He's almost now 1.4 seconds clear of those behind. They are fighting slightly further behind, although that seemed like a slightly alternate line for one of the drivers.
Yeah, what happened to Juan Santo Domingo right there on the outside? That's not the proper layout, my friend.
That's the one they're coming back to in a couple of weeks' time. You look over the shoulder and, oh, there's a bit of brake bias, maybe a bit too rearwards.
Yeah, and that's the nature of the car. You know, normally people put around, I would say, 53 to 56 on their brake bias, and just too much in front. Just whenever you go tap on the brakes, it doesn't work as it should.
That's Tony Garcia in the number 18 that also has spun it around at that final corner. He fortunately didn't run it into the wall, and so he's able to pick up the pieces and gather things back up as we jump back up towards the front. What's up, Lorenzo?
No, I thought that Juan Santo Domingo was going to crash into the wall from what it looked like. They just put up too much input from going right to left at the exit of turn number 2 to 3.
I thought you were watching the second train behind, because there are 4 in play here for 4th position. Simone Gabriele, Ballas Laza, Joey Zarkos and Theo Martin, and that's a mistake. Very wide from Gabriele into the gravel. Allows the opportunity for Laza to squeak on through. Zarkos is going to try and get there as well, but this is where they got to get onto the brakes, in towards that chicane, and just about all checking up in the nick of time.
Yeah, and luckily for Zarkos, doesn't get checked out by Theo Martin, and even though they're going to the hairpin, this could get very dicey here, Juno.
Around the long way as the number 4 tries to cut back underneath. Gabriele loses 1. Gabriele surely he's going to lose another, but this is where the draft will play its part. Martin giving, or rather being given, a little bit of help as they work up the hill. Turn 1 is cambered in, and so the car on the inside can run its line and bully the car on the outside, and they 100% made some contact there. They all single file it out once again.
Yeah, good defense from Gabriele right there to retain the position. Even though Martin, I thought he was actually going to get away into the exit of the first corner. Even though it's cambered in, it does give you some advantage. If you take it too deep the line, you might lose out on the exit speed, and unfortunately for Martin, that wasn't the case.
Up the inside, can Joey Zarkos grab 4th position away from Ballas Laza? A bit of a squeeze on the run into the braking zone, but gets on through. 6 holds on to his spot now in 5th position, and these drivers losing ground as they continue to battle. Your race leader trying to pull up that advantage, but it's still not growing to a point at which you'd feel comfortable, if we're being honest here, Lorenzo. D'Amico being pressured. Given the margin in qualifying, maybe it's not a surprise.
No, I don't think it's a surprise, and despite being in a very more tightened track than the motor layout is that we're coming back in a few weeks. 1 second is a very close margin. He's got to be kept honest every single lap that he's doing. So it's good racing so far. Everybody still has a chance despite having a little more than 9 minutes on the board.
Yeah, there's still half this race to go. That's an important distinction given how easy it can be to slip up. At the line, 1.3 will split 1st and 2nd. 1.5 will split 2nd and 3rd. So Peter de Hoy's in danger of being dropped in the battle for the lead. Joey Zarkos showing the speed that saw him qualify up in 30s. He's already pulled a couple of carlings over the likes of Laza, Gabriele and Martin as they work their way in through this opening sector of the lap. Plenty of drivers just not enjoying their days here. Domingo's just returned to the pit lane. Maxence Moores just avoids returning to the pit lane.
Yeah, and I think he got caught up. Oh! You don't make that kind of contact on the straight.
Oh, they almost made contact into the braking zone as well. It's not necessarily a car in which you want to be making contact with one another. Big send down the inside. More contact. And now Maxence Moores grabs 15th away from Matt Mears.
Scrappy, but effective nevertheless.
Yeah, I'm not sure how necessary any of that really was, though. Here's what happened to Juan Domingo, though. It's into the final corner.
Yeah, just too much input again on the accelerator, and you can see Mears also spinning on the background, and Juan just decided, I'm out.
Oh, look at that helmet, by the way, Sonic on the top, but
yeah,
clearly not the grip that Sonic has to be able to achieve those kind of speeds, you know what I mean?
Yeah, and normally he would say gotta go fast. I think that is not fast at all.
Gabriele and Giotto has dropped down behind Danny Garcia, Tony Garcia as well, so those inside the top 10 struggling to keep it on the black stuff of their own accord at this point, but that's all you really need to do to be able to get to the end. And to that point, D'Amico is now 2 full seconds clear of Mikhail Zajic in 2nd spot. So draft has been broken, maybe will has been broken as well, and after getting pole position, D'Amico now hoping to build up the buffer.
Yeah, and I think that is just going to increase after you are about 1.5 seconds away. Your life gets easier if you're still doing consistent laps, and the way that D'Amico is kind of doing is just, you know, that's the natural way. Is just going to progress and progress and progress, and it gets harder for whoever's chasing to get closer and actually go to the lead, especially on crunch time.
And 20 minutes is by no means a long race either, so you are pushing the tires, but if you push them too much, even in the race this short, you'll feel the pain. You best believe that. On board with Theo Martin over the shoulder of the number 4, heading off in towards this middle sector of the lap, down a gear into 4th. Onto the power nice and early as well. Remember, these cars only have about 160 horsepower, and there's contact in front. Martin is gifted a spot as Simone Gabriele drops down to 7th, and now Balaslaza loses out as well, just losing the momentum. And Martin says, thank you very much, give me 2 for the price of 0.
Yeah, did ask for it, but you know, freebie is always a freebie, right, Arjuna? So, and to be very honest, I was looking at the lines of Gabriele in the previous lap, going around this hairpin, just being too aggressive, committing into the corner, and I was thinking to myself, okay, something is gonna happen. I don't know when, but it's gonna happen. And unfortunately for them, losing spots, and that wasn't the way to be.
And of course, this is a car that plenty are watching in action right now on RaceSpotTV in the British Formula 4 Esports Championship, but we've also seen the Campeonato Sudamericano Esports last week. There's so many different competitions springing up with this car, and the FIA Formula 4 Esports Regional Tour is just one component of it. Next week is going to be a rather interesting race. We'll talk about that in about 5 minutes' time, as this battle still for effectively now 6th position as Martin starts to build up his little advantage up towards the front and continues to run away. And now that the wheel has been broken maybe by D'Amico, Mikel Zajic's not so much focused on the battle up front, he's more focused on the car closing in the rear view mirrors.
Yeah, the gap has been, I think, it's the closest to this point of the race so far. I think the Hoy's never managed to get about 6 or 7 tenths of a second ever in the race. That's where I think he just started being patient. Zajac is not being able to find the lines. You can even see Skid right there on turn number 9 and 10. But right now, it's that part of the race where you cannot make mistakes. You're not allowed to make those mistakes.
Here's Danny Garcia, Tony Garfia, and Gabriele Vantagiato. A little bit of a four-wheel drift there for the 18 in the middle of this battle as the right front gets locked up by Danny Garcia. Concertina effect almost opens the door for Vantagiato to squeak on through into the chicane. Not really a passing opportunity with how the curb on the inside just bounces these Formula 4 machines around, but 4 minutes to go, probably 3 laps left for these drivers to fight, and similarly 3 laps for those at the front to figure things out. Fight for second continues to close. Peter de Hoyst is very much in that slingshot effect as we build up towards that back straight.
And I think the good thing for both of these guys, especially for Zajac, is that he doesn't have a lot of laps left. He has about, like, cushion 2 laps left after this one.
I think that sounds about right.
Yeah, so because that's the good thing. You can battle yourself for 2 laps and not have Joey Zarcos that is about 3 seconds away from them relatively to come closer, because you can lose up to a full second depending where you're battling in the field. So that's, I think, they have to take as a good takeaway.
Oh, that's a bit of a slip there for the 16 of Gabriele Vantagiato after we were watching him, of course, in his fight. That's an unfortunate mistake and lost a lot of time just sitting there and waiting. Closing to within a car length, maybe half a car length there was the car chasing down second spot. And as we run our way potentially towards some lap traffic into that chicane once more, it is going to be 2 more laps to go at the line, and these drivers watch the different lines they're taking as well. Peter de Hoyst a much better run out of that chicane complex, but forced to the outside and through that final hairpin. Let's see if he's going to be forced to switch it back and cut back underneath. Parking it on the apex though is Zajac, and that is beautiful defense. Building towards turn 1 once more.
Yeah, absolutely. Really good line from de Hoyst. He's going to get that outside line. He just needs to cook it really well and actually get that extra speed to make that overtake on the outside. It's hard, but it's doable.
A little bit of a squeeze going on there, but they get it sorted in the nick of time. And again, 2 laps to go confirmed. It's not just them at the front fighting, it's those up and down through the field. This is 12th position, Lorenzo. Andres Fernandez, Maxence Moers, and Guy Robertson have all managed to find one another. This is the beauty of iRacing, although I must say there's not much beautiful about that paint scheme that's leading them around.
Yeah, but I think unfortunately for Fernandez right there, you can see the damage of the wing on the number 10 car, so he's probably going to lose the position to Merce whenever he actually comes in closer to try to attempt the overtake. And but other than that, good recovery race from that number 13 car, from spinning, losing a few spots, Arjuna, and then find yourself within fighting positions. That's pretty good.
Yeah, fighting back is all you can do, and in a 20-minute race, sometimes you can. I think there's not enough time to bring things back, and that's where these iRacing official races can be so important for the drivers to be figuring things out on their own. 90 minutes, all right, 90 seconds to go. I heard a bit of a squeal of tires in the background. Not sure exactly what that was, but Joey Zarkos is in 4th position. He's got Teo Martin that's really been able to build on him as well as we get ready to get onto the final lap of the race. Lorenzo, there's some fighting still left to go.
Yeah, and top 5 is still battling for spots, which I really like to see that, as Barney the flagman just waves the yellow flag, Arjuna, and now the Hoys have all the draft he can work with to try to make that overtake.
They'll rise up into turn 1. Here's what happened to Joey Zarkos, and that's why he's now under fire as well. Just ran himself a little bit wide and lost all that momentum with the new grass, the new gravel model that they have to deal with. The hoist on the outside as they head down in through turn 2, run a little bit out wide, and now forced to slip back underneath. It's going to be as they crest over the top of the right-hander onto the back straightaway that really the momentum has got to be brought. It's got to be out of here, and rather towards this next little complex that the drivers really maximize things out. I don't know if that's going to be good enough an exit, to be honest. Zajac may have done enough.
Yeah, he might have done enough. I want to see if he's going to overcommit towards the hairpin. Oh, some blinking of the car. That is not really good for Zajac in the final lap, or Arjuna, but there is some battle. There is some life left still in that number 3 car.
Oh, look at the better run now, though, as they get alongside. Left-hand sweeper, longer way around for De Hoys. Still has the nose alongside, but run out of room. You've got to say, both drivers giving each other just enough racing room right now. Zajac continues to frustrate to the chicane for the final time.
Yeah, so Zajac managed to held it very tight, but it still have the hairpin. You got to set it up over here on the chicane for you to have a really good run.
And that's what we've been seeing that last lap around as well in that Kart Academy Esports car. But as they battle to the line, it's no such battle up front as Andrea D'Amico comes out on top here at Circuit Jerez in the FIA Formula 4 Esports Regional Tour. It's a fantastic drive from him, a spin from Simone Gabriele through the final corner. And as much as Peter De Hoys tried, Michael Zajac does enough to hold on to 2nd. Joey Zarkos will be 4th, and just behind De Hoys, Martin 5th. Another fun race here, Lorenzo, as the FIA Formula 4 Esports Regional Tour gets closer and closer to the end of its inaugural season.
Yeah, which is sad to think about it. You know, we only have 3 more weeks, as we've still seen a few cars better around the track. I think that's Belijar Garcia managing to hold the position from someone. I think, no, that is actually a back marker. That it was, oh, never mind, I was confused. That was Okio Kyuzo that was actually retaining the position right there. But only 3 weeks left. We still have a lot to cover, and I'm loving this championship so far. I haven't raced a single race so far. I really got to put my time and actually get it around one of them.
That's as the final drivers come towards the line, just continue to talk about what's to come. That's, of course, I alluded to it earlier, but Lorenzo next week is a trip to Watkins Glen, and every trip to Watkins Glen is great, but it's always more exciting when it's the boot layout of Watkins Glen.
Is it the classic boot?
It's just the boot.
Oh boy, okay. Because I've driven this, and I can say 100%. If this had no the interloop chicane, this would have been tight. Like, it's packed racing. You can have like 8 cars together, Arjuna. So it's frantic. It's nerve-wracking. I can tell you that much.
It's going to be a lot of fun, and there's going to be a lot of shouting. I get the sense. 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific. So make sure you join us next Wednesday for all of that. Let's quickly run you down through the race results. Big margin up towards the front, of course, for Andrea D'Amico, but Michael Zajac, Peter de Hoys, second and third. They had a fun little battle all the way to the very end of the race. Joey Zarcos fought his way back to fourth in front of Teo Martin, Balas Laza, Simone Gabriele, Ricardo Machado, and then Tony Garfio, while the 17 was able to squeak its way up in towards the top 10. Only 5 positions gained there. It was a remarkable 10 positions gained, though, for Danny Garcia in 11th. Max Setz more than finished in 12th. Andres Fernandez, Guy Robertson, Matt Mears, Gabriele Vantiagiato, Jensen, One going, Joao Santos, Johan Sorensen, Sankara, Makandal, and then the final 3 drivers who all were involved in various states of incidents. Robin Zahn, Joseph in that number 1, and Juan Domingo rounding out the field. Another interesting round of the FIA Formula 4 Esports Regional Tour done and dusted. And again, Lorenzo, it's open to anyone with a non-rookie license. It's a great way to enjoy 160 horsepower and a car that delivers some great racing.
Yeah, and not only that, it's a good entry point if you really want to go for open wheel racing, because the feedback of the car is great, and you just get some really tight and hard racing. It's hard, but it's fair racing from what I've raced on these F4s. And like I said, once you learn that car, you can open up a lot of options moving forward on your iRacing career.
Well, that's it for us once again here on RaceSpotTV for a Wednesday. Special start time next week, of course, as we make our way to the Americas region, and just 3 weeks left to go in 2023 Season 4. For the team behind the scenes, for Lorenzo Bonder, alongside myself, Arjuna Kankipati, thank you so much for joining us. We'll see you next week from upstate New York to hope we're not going bowling at Watkins Glen.